Okay, it's a little bit dark out here now. It's almost 5 o'clock and the days are getting shorter now. But I wanted to go over some stuff with you today on banking in St. Kitts, because there's a lot of people that have a lot of questions on the best bank to use. I always look at a lot of different things when I look at a bank: the ease in opening it, privacy, what kind of exchange rates they've got, different type of programs they've got, and also the solidity of the bank itself. You can't always look at, when you're looking at a bank, for instance, and I don't want to mention other banks' names, but other than the one that I would recommend. But if you take a major bank that's outside St. Kitts and it's got a sister branch here, you would think it might be a real solid bank. But a lot of these banks have in their bylaws that if something happens to the branch that's here in St. Kitts, not necessarily would the mother branch in another country pick it up. It's real rare you'll see a problem with it. I've been here 15 years. I haven't seen one bank be close to going under. But I saw a lot more problems in places like Belize. Belize has had a lot of problems there. But some things that you should be looking for is those variables that I just mentioned, especially privacy, because you do have laws that cover all the banks. But I will tell you this: there's a lot less pressure on a bank, if they're in a lawsuit situation or whatever. But if there's like a mother branch that's in a big country like Canada or the US or whatever, but basically the laws are going to apply the same to all the different banks here. It won't make any difference. But I think it's the way it's viewed at the bank itself. But ultimately the courts have to make a decision. If you've got a situation that you're involved with, whether it's money laundering or whether it's, if you're involved with some sort of civil procedure, it's going to ultimately go down to the courts. It has nothing to do with the bank itself. So the courts are the ones that make the decision here. I'll tell you, the bank I like the best is everybody calls it here the National Bank. It's the government bank, and that's St. Kitts, Nevis, Anguilla National Bank. One reason I like this bank is I haven't done it recently, but I compared a while back, conversion rates across the board. They were better going out or coming back in the euro, pound sterling, different currencies that they carried. Those were the two main. I think they also carry, I can't remember if they carry Canadian dollar or not, but the conversion rates were better than the other banks at the time I checked. And so that can save you a lot of money there, depending on how much you're wiring in or wiring out, outside the US dollar. Now, none of the banks here deal with crypto. They still haven't. It's going to be a while, I think, before you see that happen. They do have friendly crypto laws here. It's just the banks, you're not involved with that now. And so if you're looking for a bank that, like I said, has good rates, they've also got a real good account called a Horizon account. It's real unique. If you're, I think it's 55 years old or older, it pays like around, I think right around 2.5%, give or take, right in there. And that's in the EC dollar. And of course, that's tied to the US dollar at roughly 2.7, okay? 2.7 EC dollars to the US dollar. But it's, one thing I do like about it is, since it's government tied, I'm not saying the government would do this, but if they had problems, you got the central bank here, they're the ones that actually, they print the money here in St. Kitts for the EC dollar, and for the Eastern Caribbean states. But they could, in essence, I'm not saying they would do this, but if there was a problem with the bank, they could literally, print money so they could, get out of the situation. But I'm not saying they would do that, but it's a more of a freedom than a private bank that maybe wouldn't have that chance to do that opportunity. So, but like I said, it's not guaranteed. I mean, you can come here and you can have your money here and have a problem with the bank, and it doesn't mean you're totally protected. But I will tell you this: I feel safer in that bank than I do the other ones. Okay, that's just the way I feel. And I'll tell you something else too. I found out too. It's easier, although all the banks here are getting tougher to set up accounts and stuff like that. They are the easiest that I have found and the quickest to get your account open. That's what I have found. Okay, so, and I'll tell you something else too. When you have the branches, they got one in Nevis and they got one in Anguilla. And so, that's why it's called St. Kitts Nevis Anguilla National Bank. So you don't have branches that are in other countries, where your money could be frozen or something like this. But I'm going to tell you, if you're involved with any sort of money laundering and stuff like this, with the way the laws are now, I'm telling you, you're better off to be in a clean business to begin with. They certainly don't want bad money coming through here. I can tell you that. That's the last thing they want. And I'll tell you this too, I've mentioned this in other videos. They're actually stricter in getting accounts set up here than they are in the US. I know that as a fact. They ask a lot more questions. They didn't used to do this 15 years ago, 10 years ago, but it's changed today. They're going to ask you a lot of questions when you open an account here. And and you're not going to get it that day, I can tell you that. It's not like you're going to walk in and walk out. It's going to be several days before the account's open. And I'll tell you this too, it's easier, I think, in my opinion, if you've got citizenship here in St. Kitts than if you don't have citizenship. So that's another thing that I would be really thinking about there. And also, folks, if you want to legally get your income taxes to zero, how to get a second passport as quick as 45 days, do 3 things. Hit the subscribe button on the right of your screen. You'll get new videos automatically as they come out. We've got over 700 videos. I also would, if you got a question or comment, just put it below. And if you want to know more, just go to our website, www.citizenshipquickly.com, and just ask for some help. And one thing too, I think that if crypto does, well, I'll tell you this. I know it's a fact that the bank is more lenient for people that are in businesses that maybe another bank here would not take. Let me give you an example. I'm in the citizenship by investment business. And as far as local business from a local, company, this bank and I don't know of any other bank that will take citizenship by investment business. I'm talking about even if you're licensed, you're in the business. It's the only bank that I know of that will actually take that business. Now, there are people that had bank accounts before these new strict laws came out with these other banks that were dealing with citizenship by investment. So if they're looking at this video, they're wondering, what do you mean? I've got an account with this other bank. Well, you got it before these new rules came out. If you try to go out and get an account now and you're in citizenship by investment, it's a lot harder to get the account. I don't know if any other bank, I'm talking about onshore, I'm not talking about offshore banks. There are a few other offshore banks that will take, but I'm talking about local banks here, okay? And one reason is there's a lot of risk in the citizenship by investment business. A lot more risk than there are with other type businesses, because you always run the risk. And banks don't like this, which I can understand. They don't like the risk of, taking money from people that are, getting citizenship in a lot of cases, because there's quite a bit. Anybody who's been in the business knows if you're in it long enough, you're going to have some bad money coming through. It's just ultimately it's going to happen. Okay. And they want to try to avoid it all, totally. They want the business, but they want good business, okay? And so what they're trying to do is find out the the good business from the bad business. And that's why when you wire funds through any of the banks here, and I'll just say for St. Kitts and Anguilla National Bank, they're going to require you to, they're going to run a check on you if you're getting citizenship for your initial wire coming in, okay? Now, if you've already got an account, you're already a citizen, or if you've already got an account in St. Kitts and you're applying for citizenship, they're probably still going to run that same background check on you coming in. Remember, there's 3 background checks that's run on you when you get citizenship by investment. One is through the bank on the initial wire coming in to actually start the process. The second one is done through WorldCheck, which the service provider, who is actually, in most cases, is the lawyer, what they're doing is they're going to be doing the citizenship for you, the paperwork and so forth. That's one that they do before that you actually submit, the main part of the money. And then what they'll do is they'll check to see if you come up on any sort of watch list. And then the third one is the main background check. That's the one that you pay all that money for. For a husband, it's like right around $7,500 US for the main person, and then around $4,000 for the other that are over 16 years old. If you're under 16, you don't have to pay anything for them. But what you're looking at is about 3 checks that are done. They didn't used to have all these checks, but they do them now. I mean, they really check you up and down through the banks because they want to make sure they're going to get somebody that's bringing in money that's good money. They don't want bad money coming in here, okay? And that's why we try to ask people up front, when you apply for citizenship, we usually ask them 2 or 3 times, have you had any sort of background problems? Because when you set up a bank account, you start wiring funds in, and if you lie about your background and it's found out later, you won't get that money back once you pay a service provider if you're turned down. That's why we try to find out ahead of time who's got sort of background problems, because if you do it, we can check at the citizenship department and do kind of a preliminary check to find out for your situation, are they going to more than likely take you for your, if you've got some sort of background issue. And just because you got a criminal issue in the past doesn't mean we can't get you through. There's so many variables you have to look at. So just because you've had a background problem doesn't mean you can't get the citizenship and passport, but we would need to know ahead of time, and the bank needs to know this too ahead of time, because I mentioned to you on another video one time, we had a guy that wired funds through, and he matched the same name as another guy that was a criminal. We found out that it wasn't the same guy, and it was somebody else, but it was in the same state, same name. It's a Chinese guy, and he had to get a police report. He had to pay for that and stuff. And that's the difference when you go through, when you use crypto. But I'm going to tell you something, they're still going to do the other 2 background checks. So even if you pay some of the money up front, ultimately, and it's done with crypto, ultimately if you go out and then you pay the service provider, at that point, they're going to be doing these checks, okay? So ultimately, you've got, it's very difficult to avoid all of these 3 cases. Our fee, you can pay us, in crypto, but the thing is and the crypto exchanges don't do checks like you do with banks, but you're going to go through these checks ultimately when you pay in the US dollar. So it's important, if you've got a background problem, that you bring it up front. It will save the bank a lot of hassle and time and wasted time and stuff, and it will solve a lot of problems for you too, and keep you from spending a lot of money that you won't get back if they pull up something on you. Now if you wire money in initially and the bank finds something on you, obviously that money will be sent back. I'm talking about hiring service providers and stuff like this, and then they put in all this work and time, then all of a sudden you decide to send the money, and then they find out that you got a criminal record. But when you do the initial wire to the bank, that's totally different. The bank picks up something and you turn out to have a problem, and what they'll do is more than likely they'll just send the money back. Now you will lose whatever wire fees you've had to pay out, and going and coming. So but that's a lot cheaper than finding out later. And this is why the banks do this. They want to try to find these problems up front before you spend a lot of time and money, and also them, and trying to get this citizenship program off the ground. If you want to know more on this, again, go to our website, www.citizenshipquickly.com. Hit the top bar that says apply with us, fill out the questions. Hit that bottom bar that says send it to us. We deal with over 100 citizenship by investment, residency by investment countries all over the world. And don't forget, hit the subscribe button right on your screen. You get new videos automatically as they come out. And again, our website's www.citizenshipquickly.com, and I look forward to talking to you in the next video. Take care.